Hi, everyone. My name is Adriana, founder and CEO of Little Words Project, and welcome to our series, Words Matter, the show where we interview key members of our community while doing our favorite activity, beading bracelets. Today, we are joined by Venita Aspen. Venita is currently known for her role in Bravo's Southern Charm, but her resume stretches much further than just that. Venita attended culinary school, has an extensive background in modeling, and thrives in the influencer and content creation space. Her audience has come to appreciate her charm and authenticity, as well as her ability to seamlessly blend her exquisite taste in fashion with entrepreneurship and entertainment. Venita, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be in Jersey.
Hey,
you know, it's my first time in New Jersey.
No, it's not. Oh, girl, and you're right on the beautiful Route 22. I promise there are much cuter spots in Jersey than where we are, but fine. This is, you know, we do what we can.
Listen.
I'm so excited to have you. I can't believe that, like, our journey has taken us to this moment.
I know.
I feel like I first found you like most of the country, which was through Southern Charm.
Yeah.
You first popped on the scene. Was it 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 2020
Jesus, this is gonna be my fourth.
4 years.
This is gonna be my fourth year on the show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. And the funny thing about Southern Charm for me, at least as a Bravo lover, is I was a late adopter. I was a late bloomer, if you will.
Okay.
My first live season was yours.
Wow. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And it was you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
But I binged everything during COVID,
Yeah.
and then I saw my first live season with you. So it's not surprising that I'm obsessed with the show. It's one of the, I think, best shows on television.
Yeah.
Again, as a Bravo fan, I can say that with confidence. But, you know, it's obviously not your whole story. So my first question to you is a little bit of a doozy, and it's just, who is Venita Aspen?
Venita Aspen is the people's champ.
Ooh. Okay.
I feel like that was a little too cocky, but you know, I'm the people's champ. You know, I give a little bit of everything. I give a little bit of sass. I give a lot of manners. I give a lot of understanding. You know,
you do.
feel like I'm the people's champ.
You stand up for what's right. You stand up for the underdog.
Always.
I would say.
Yeah.
I think we saw a lot of that in you this past season. And this is, I promise, not going to be a Bravo conversation.
I'm fine with that. Hey.
I know. But we all know your thoughts. You're very open about it. So I'm like, let's get deeper than Bravo.
Yeah.
But I will say, having just watched the first episode of the reunion, and just the whole season, like, you really did just stand up for what you felt was right, and you were so in Olivia's corner, which I just think is so beautiful to see. And you really do come off as a girl's girl. Like, you not care to have the relationship with the boys. You're like, I'm not out here to make your friend.
Except for JT. We love JT.
JT's cute, right? JT was our other celeb at the Bravo.
When you were a bartender.
Yep, I was on Watch What Happens Live with Venita and JT, and it was my first experience in the clubhouse. It was my first experience just like getting to be so close to Bravo. This is, I mean, when I found out it was you that was going to be on the episode,
they didn't tell us, so we had no idea.
And then you came in acting like I was the famous one.
You were. Like, when I peeked around the corner, I was like, I want to know who's in the room. And I saw, I was like, no way! Like, I was so excited. Like, I'm sweating now just thinking about it.
We're both sweating. You got the lights on. You just had soup. Anyway, so Venita's decked out in Little Words. You've been a fan of the brand for, oh my God, I know.
We're all decked out over here.
You've been a fan of the brand for probably a couple years, 2 years maybe. I feel like
I think I got my first bracelet in 2020.
2021, I want to say. Like, I feel like, I realized it. You were already on, like, a mainstay on the show. So I'm like, because when I realized it, I'm like, oh my God, Venita from Southern Charm.
But I feel like my stack at home, like, I took a picture to show Mariah when we first met, and like, I couldn't hold it in my hand. So I was like, maybe it's 2020 because I have so many, or maybe I have a problem.
No, you know what? There's no such thing as a problem when it comes to Little Words. But yeah, so anyway, we're kind of diving deeper. I love that you said you're the people's champ. Yeah. I was reiterating that I saw that myself with my own eyes when it comes to just how you stand up for what's right with everything that went on this past season. What do you think turned you into that person? You know, what was your experience like growing up or just in your career journey? Like, what made you who you are?
I'm my mom. I know that's the answer that I feel like.
Nope, it's my answer too.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people give that same answer, but like my mom, like, did it all, care for everyone at the same time, but like still made sure that like I felt like I was the only thing that mattered. And like, as I've gotten older, I've learned how to kind of like develop into that. And like, it makes me feel good. It's like no one's ever left out. Everyone's always taken care of. Like, you're always checking in on everyone to make sure they're good. But then she also made sure she took time for herself. We got her nails done every Saturday.
Yeah.
Like, we went shopping. We would do our lunches. So, like, my mom is...
that woman for you.
Yeah.
I love that. I feel the same way. And I always say the same thing. And I don't think it is something that everybody says, because I don't think everyone's as lucky, I guess you could say, or blessed to have that kind of, mother figure that taught them the way, but also did it with like love and guidance, and it wasn't as she's
a little bit stern, not too much of the love,
Same, okay.
A couple pinches here and there.
Oh, sure, of course. I mean, but I say it all the time. I'm like, my mom is my biggest inspiration and also the biggest thorn in my side.
Oh yeah, let's say. Sometimes I'm like, Mom, come on, like, please.
Yeah, can I get away with this one thing?
Like, just one. Like,
I'm
let
in
me
my
have
30s
it.
now. So anyway, yeah, it's definitely, I can relate, but I love that. And okay, Venita, we are going to be making a bracelet today, each of us. We're going to pick a word.
Okay.
If you do you potentially have a word in your head already you want to do? Okay, so as I'm asking questions, feel free to pick your colors, pick your letters, and we'll kind of get started. I also need a word. Tell me about, okay, I know we said we weren't going to talk about Bravo, but
I don't
because
care.
we started, I know. But
it's my job.
It is your job.
It's my job.
So what percentage of your life is Bravo versus, right, this job versus your career that you could say almost opened the door to Bravo, right? Because you had a whole journey from going from, you were in culinary school, you had your Aspen agency, to then now having, obviously being an influencer, much more like a larger content creator, to then being on Southern Charm.
Yeah.
How much of your life is still content creation versus Southern Charm versus like, is Aspen agency still?
No, I closed the Aspen agency 2021. I feel like I work on a little bit of everything every day. Okay. So there isn't really a true percentage.
Okay. And then when it comes to filming, like, how often are you guys filming? Is it just once a year for like 3 months? Or is it
once a year for 3 months?
3 months.
6 days a week.
6 days a week, and they're just coming to your house, and they're coming to wherever you guys are. You guys schedule things, like, how is it orchestrated?
Like, you can film at your house, you can film at...
Do you have to come up with your own storylines?
No, unfortunately, our storylines are made by people who like to cause drama naturally, and then it just kind of like, you kind of pick your battles once that happens.
And then when it comes to the storylines of it all, do you lean in as a professional? Are you leaning into your job, which is to get viewership onto the show? Or like, how much of it is 100% you, and how much of it is, okay, this is my storyline, these guys are playing games.
I'm not a storyline girl.
I didn't think so.
I can't. It doesn't feel authentic to me, and that's no shade to those who do it, because some of us need to set plans, some of us can just go with the flow. Yeah. But like, I'm not a storyline girl.
Would you say that you have castmates who are leaning into a storyline rather than just being?
Not on my show.
Love that. I would agree. I feel like that makes sense, because I feel like you guys are all just so authentically you to a fault almost.
And I think that's what sets us apart from the rest of the shows, It's just because, like, we're real friends in real life. We fight in real life. We go out in real life. Like, in a week, I don't know when this is going to air, but a week from now, I'm going to an event with Madison and Olivia. Because I feel like some of the girls don't hang out on other shows. They just hang out when it's time to film.
Okay, so one of our pillars at Little Words Project is self-love and self-kindness. But we know firsthand how difficult that can be to achieve. Mm-hmm. Do you feel through your journey, I look at you and I see someone who is super confident and comfortable in her own skin and holds her own in rooms, often being, in some cases, at least in your network down on Southern Charm, and probably in general in life, your circles, the only Black woman in the room. How has that affected your own journey towards self-love? Do you feel like you've achieved the ultimate level of self-love? Do you feel like you have a lot more work to do in that department? And are there any tactics, I guess, that you've deployed that have gotten you to where you are on that journey today?
Oh, that's a great question.
I mean, it's a very involved question, so I will remind you as we go, as you answer.
I feel like right now I'm at the peak of like self-love in the sense of like, especially always being like the only black woman in the room. And I've always been that though. I've always been that. I went to private school, kindergarten through 12th grade.
Okay.
So I was always one of 5, one
Right.
of 10, one of 1. Grew up Catholic, again, being one of 1 or 5 or 10 in a room.
Yeah.
So I'm so used to it that I never like thought about it until I got on a platform that's a platform that was so large, it made me realize, oh, I am the only one in the room. People were reminding me, you're the only one here. I was like, oh,
yeah.
I am.
Yeah. And how did that realization, that moment, how did that affect your self-perception, if at all?
It didn't affect my self-perception. It more so made me think about the fact that I really have to do my best at all times because I am the only one. And I am the only representation. And don't let me be a bad representation because that's all they'll talk about.
One of the things I love about you is the way you are so transparent on social. Like when you have people sliding or making comments that are so disgusting and you share those comments and you kind of like call them out, which I just think is awesome. How does that not get to you, or does it?
My first year being on the show full time, that was a year that I came in and like race was the heaviest topic of the conversation.
2020,
and I split my time between Charleston and New York, and I came to New York. I gotta take a step back. I lost my aunt 2 months before I did my journey to New York, where I was going to spend a summer in New York. That was around the same time the show came out, and it was about race. I was depressed for 5 months. I'm a very bubbly, happy, cheery, go-lucky person. It takes a lot to get me down.
Wow.
I was on East 32nd. I can tell you on one hand how many times I left that apartment in the span of like 3.5 to 4 months.
Wow.
Like it was bad. And like,
why did you move to New York?
I didn't want to be in Charleston when the show aired because I already knew it was going to be hell.
Really? Yeah. Wow. What was it specifically that you were afraid of?
People approaching me in real life with the things that they would say to me on Instagram DMs and comments and saying it to my face.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you went through that.
That's fine.
And so that did affect your mental state.
Yeah.
And then like that was like say.
Yeah, and that was like the beginning of it. And it's like,
gives me chills.
I pivoted, of course, and I was like, I was in New York, I was working, I was doing all the things, I was going to the influencer events. Like, don't get me wrong, I was doing work, but
it was weighing on you.
Yeah, but I allowed myself. Everyone was like, don't let it get to you, don't read the comments, don't do this. But you kind of have to in order to not. You know, so like I would read the comments in the Reddit threads and the Reddit threads.
When you just said when I tell you that there are some snark pages on Reddit that I don't ever partake in because we are nice. I'm a nice person. Yeah, and I have gone through that experience of being on the receiving end of hate from just my experience in college or growing up or bullying or all of that, race related or not. And when you see what people have to say about you when it's meant to not
be seen by
you. Oh. I can only imagine what it's like to be so in the limelight. Like, I think one of my favorite quotes is you have to have the courage to be disliked. Yeah. Because having the courage to be disliked will make you feel like you have the right to be in certain rooms and you don't care because you're like, I don't care what you think about me. No. That's something that I've worked on my entire life, and I do think I've gotten pretty good at it. But it's hard to achieve. So what you're basically sharing with us is that you had the courage to go on TV, which is essentially the courage to be disliked because you're never going to be liked by everyone.
You're not going to be liked by everyone, and you learn that going in. Half the people are going to love you, half the people are going to hate you. It's never like a even.
And yet you stuck it out, and you're still there.
I almost gave up.
Really?
You guys have Sutton Strachey from Beverly Hills to thank.
Oh my gosh, what happened?
On the way home from that 5-month stint in New York, she was on the same plane as Manny and I.
No way.
And I was always a fan of hers, but I didn't speak. And Manny was like, you got to go say something. I was like, no. By the time I got out the plane, got the baggage claim, I was like, okay, I'm going to say something. And I was like, hey, son, I'm such a big fan. She was like, you're a fan of me? I'm such a big fan of you. I've been sending you messages. Like, just went off.
Oh, my God.
Like, went off with excitement. And I was telling her, I was telling her about my season. She was like, you got to stick it out. Because she was just coming off of having a bad season. So we basically started television at the same time.
Yeah.
And she was coming off of having a very bad season. Yeah. And she was like, you got to stick it out. You have to let them know that they didn't win. She was like, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun. But you have got to come back next season. Because in my head, I'd already decided I wasn't coming back.
Oh, wow.
But I wasn't going to say anything out loud yet because you don't want to cut ties with something that's so good until you actually have the final decision. And I was just like, The opportunities are too good. I had great producers. I've met great people. Like, am I really willing to let that go because of people that I'll never meet in real life being mean to me online?
Right. Wow.
And I had to think about it, and I sat with it, and I didn't want to let them win.
Good for you. Yeah. And Sutton was that inspiration to you. Oh,
yeah.
I love Sutton.
We love Sutton. I had dinner with her last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Literally, I need to make her a bracelet that says name 'em.
I'm
about to be like, name 'em. Name 'em.
I almost bought her the bracelet you got. I didn't realize you guys had bracelets that when you buy a bracelet, proceeds of it go to an organization, and you have one for cats. It says Meow. She loves cats. Yes. I almost got that for her yesterday.
You're so cute.
Yeah.
I'm so inspired by that. I think it's so incredible. Like, having that courage to be disliked. It's obviously something that you nailed. What advice do you have for people that are maybe they have these big dreams and they have these lofty goals, and they don't know how to find that courage to be disliked and to put yourself out there anyway? What advice do you have?
Look to yourself for inspiration. Don't look to anybody else. That's number one. And that's easier said than done, because of course you're going to be inspired by the things you see, but sometimes being inspired by a person you want to be will cause you to have imposter syndrome, and then you go down this nasty hole of I can't. Find inspiration in imagery that doesn't have people in it.
Ooh.
And in words,
right.
and maybe in action, but don't find it in an individual, because it's going to set you up for failure.
I love what you just said. Finding inspiration in imagery that doesn't have people in it, especially as brown women of color.
I don't see myself in the imagery anyway, so that's easy for me to do.
Exactly. And if you were only seeking for imagery, then you would have a lot harder time finding proof that you can do it. That gives me chills, because our brain is always looking to prove ourselves right. So if we think we can't, we'll look around and we'll see there's no imagery here. But if you start with yourself and you believe in yourself and you think you can, then you'll find inspiration in this image of a flower in a field.
Then you start making the imagery that you want to see.
Then you are the inspiration for others. And I so resonate with that just as a business owner. And there's I think the stat is less than 5% of Fortune 500 companies are run by women of color, by Black or brown women of color.
Wow.
The stat might be specific to Latinas. We'll make sure that we double check that. But even still,
it's so wide. It's so too small.
It's too small.
Yeah.
And so knowing that, I'm this isn't a Fortune 500 company by any means. But yes, exactly. So it's you just have to keep going and not seek out proof in other people that it's possible, but know it and seek it out in yourself. I love that. Number 2, do you remember it? What's the second piece of advice you have for people looking to find the courage to be disliked?
Do it when you're most nervous, when it feels the scariest.
Yes.
Just do it.
That's fearlessness.
Do it when you don't have money in your bank account. Or I can't spend $25. This is where I am in my head right now. I don't know if I should spend $2,500 right now for the next 3 months, every month, to have someone do some branding and website and building this brand I've been sitting on for 6 years. You just do it. You just have to do it.
Ooh, I love that. I love that perception, especially when it comes to money, because I think so many people will shame you into if you don't have
$10,000, if you don't have investors, if you don't have backers, once you get to a certain point, yes, those things are necessary. But if you try to start there, you're going to fail.
Yeah, no, build the plane while you're flying.
Yeah, literally.
Stop. You should be building that plane while you're flying, because one, the risk is going to keep you building.
Right.
The more that you need to get this thing built, because otherwise you're going to fall right out of thin air.
Yep.
The more you'll build, right? Whereas if you have this setup and this support system that's robust,
what
and
are you
can
working
just
hard
tap
for?
money.
You have everything you need.
Exactly. How do you just be?
Yeah.
How do you just be? I think it's one of the hardest things that we as people have to navigate, because it feels impossible sometimes, especially in this world that we live in, where it's you are under a microscope. And
and everything. And social media
display.
makes it 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last question I'll ask kind of regarding this subject is, when it comes to the blackness of it all, right? That's something that you wear right on your skin. That's not changing.
Nope.
It's a beautiful thing, and no one would ever want it to. How has the knowledge of being Black means that you are different, how has that affected your psyche? It's not someone's coming at you. And is it race driven, do you feel? Is it not? And does it matter because you've filled your cup enough to be able to navigate it?
That's something I'm kind of struggling with right now, because right now we're going through this phase again of realizing that Black women get paid so much less than everyone else. And I think about that in my day-to-day life. You know, like I have a manager that gets me jobs every day, and I know she's working hard for me, but it's like in the back of my mind, are these brands, not her, but are these brands giving me less and they're giving someone else who has less followers than me because they're white or of a different race? And I'm starting to like, but I have to get over that. It's like I'm doing well, I'm doing fine, I'm doing, you know, better than most. Yeah. And it's just like, I can't let that thought take me over, right? But that's the thought. That's the thought.
So that's how it's affecting you.
So now it's almost like I'm afraid to like, okay, like if I accept this, it's like, dang.
Am I accepting less than I deserve?
Yeah, and how will I ever know?
And how will you ever know? Ugh, God, that part.
You know?
That part. And that must be, you know, difficult.
Cards I've been dealt. You know, and you either learn how to play, know how to play the game with those cards, or you try to find a new deck, and that's not going to be easy feat.
And that's not going to be an easy feat. No, but I'd say you play the game really beautifully.
Thank you.
You are,
thank you.
I mean, truly one of the kindest people I've ever met. We had the same experience you described with Sutton.
Yeah.
I felt it with you, and I left being like, why did this woman just make me feel like I was the person, like, I was the famous one in the room.
Like you were being interviewed by Andy?
Like Andy invited me to the club. No, Andy was like, oh, thanks for being here. And no, he was so gracious and kind. But it's a beautiful thing. And I think that's just testament to you as a person, but you do it all with grace. And I think that's really,
so
really
funny
special.
You say that, because my word is literally grace. I'm not done. Like, please don't judge. The OCD was kicking in.
I know. We're gonna let you bead. Okay, so why did you choose the word grace? Let's start there.
I chose the word grace because the last couple of years have been like heavy with ups and downs, and something that I had to step back and realize is that I don't know if the person on the other side of that email is having a bad day. I need to give them grace.
Right.
Don't wake up and see that they haven't responded and get snarky. What's the thing that we like to say to be mean in email language?
Yeah, like as per my last email.
Yeah, per my last email, you know, like, you know, and you wake up and you just give people grace.
Do you feel like you give yourself enough grace?
I've definitely gotten a whole lot better.
Yeah.
I would say within the last year, I've done a complete 180.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I think that really is like the reason you chose the word makes total sense. But I think if we look back even just on this conversation, it's really been the theme of the conversation.
Yeah.
As well as I chose the word be.
Oh, my gosh, you're just so beautiful. Like, please.
Okay, girl. That's about to be fire. You have to give it a chance. I went very basic. Yours is beautiful. I chose be because similarly, I feel like this conversation is about giving yourself grace, allowing yourself to just be, and not allowing the weight of the world or other people's perception of you or other people's opinions of you or other people's thoughts about you affect you.
Right.
And your ability to just be who you are. And so I feel like we were very simpatico here with those two words. But to that end, is there any word that you would have given your younger self that maybe is different than grace to navigate difficulty? We didn't really talk about much of your childhood or upbringing other than your mom, but if you're maybe through any difficult season, what is that word you would give that version of you?
Patience.
Yeah.
That's definitely it. I feel like, you know, it's self-made since 16, technically. That's when I started my modeling career. Wow. And, I used to always, not want to speed the process up, but, why isn't it happening as fast for me as it looks like it's happening fast for everyone else? You got to remember patience, you know?
Yeah.
I'm 30 years old now, and I have everything I've ever wanted.
Yeah.
At this point in time, there's nothing else I can want besides a husband and a house.
Yeah.
You know, I'm basically set.
Which you're almost there.
I'm almost there.
It's around the corner.
Yeah. So patience is just you just have to remember to be patient. The things will come when they need to come to you, and you just gotta wait. The moment you're patient, the moment you let go of things you don't need to have, it'll all start flowing.
It all starts working
easily
for you.
Yeah.
As a Catholic person, do you believe that God is God? I'll say what I believe, which is that God and the universe. I do believe in both. And it's
same. I believe in both. Yeah, they're all one.
They're all working together for us, and we are working with it, and we're co-creating this life that we're living. And half the battle is, yes, patience, but also belief in yourself.
Yeah.
Belief that is going to work out. And if, no matter what happens, you will understand the journey you went on to get to this point. Right. And I'm sure you can pinpoint the exact moment that led to Southern Charm.
Yeah.
That is now catapulting you into this mini stardom, if you will, that's enabling you to build a bigger, broader, brighter future for yourself.
Right.
And it probably actually, what was that moment, if you can remember it?
It was actually, so my first year on Friends of was 2020. My first year full time was 2021.
Okay.
Yeah. 2021 going into 2022, I had to let go of the Aspen agency to get that full time role.
There you go.
And I did not want to let it go. Woo,
there
baby,
you
that
go.
was a strong fight. But I was just like, it's fun, but it's more of something that I enjoy doing. It's not generating enough for me to keep it going. And like the moment I let it go, I got the call and they're like, we want you back full time. And I was like,
there you go.
Oh.
You told God, the universe, your angels, I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
And then the door opens.
Yeah.
That's
like,
a beautiful thing.
It was like literally like a month later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I look at that. I look at like my whole youth and my whole experience with bullying and the days and the nights that I spent, crying myself to sleep, not wanting to get up in the morning, not wanting to go to school in the morning, not wanting to be, right?
Yeah. That's sad.
Yeah. Thank you. And it was, but it's okay because I look at that whole thing and I understand it now because I'm here and I've got this and I have these opportunities. And
like, thank God for the mean people, right?
Thank God for the mean people, literally, because they fuel you and they make you who you are in a lot of ways, as long as you also remember to fill your own cup and love on yourself and show yourself the kindness that they're not showing you.
Right.
I think that's the most important thing in regards to growth and being who we are. Okay, so I want to talk really quickly about our working together. What words did you choose?
I almost put it on my Instagram story to ask.
Ooh.
And I chose not to because the word invincible came to my head.
Okay. That is good.
Yeah, I feel like it's a word you don't see a lot of, but it has such a strong meaning. And, like, it's such a strong reminder of, like, you are invincible, no matter how hard things get. Like, you just have to remember, like, you've gotten through it once, you can get through it again, you're invincible.
That's it.
Yeah.
Be invincible. And like you said earlier, look to yourself for inspiration.
Yeah.
Look at what you've accomplished, not what you haven't yet.
Not what you haven't.
Look at what you've accomplished. Let that be inspiration to keep going. Because you really, truly have been invincible to this point. Nothing has stopped you. Oh, girl.
Isn't that good?
It is.
I was so excited because I was so stressed because I'm so hard with decision making. Like, I'm a Libra through and through. Like, decision fatigue is so common for me.
Yeah.
But I was just like, no, we're invincible. I'm just like, I'm thinking about what my boyfriend's going through. I'm thinking about what, I've gone through as a family with just like my parents and like work and business and life as a whole. Like where I was dating someone else almost 6 years ago to who I'm dating now and where I am now. I'm like, I had to be invincible to get through all of that.
Yep. Amen.
Yeah.
I love that. And what do you want your community to feel when they look down at that wrist?
They can do anything that they set their mind to. I know it sounds so cheesy, but
no, girl, you're speaking my language. I am just as cheesy, then. Call me cheese.
And like, you can take your time to get there. You don't have to rush because like, it might have taken you 3 years to get there, but you had to be invincible through those first 3 years to get there. And now you're here. Like, you can just do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. We are so excited to be working with you. I mean, you really are everything you say that you are. My last question is, what are the words on your wrist?
Oh.
And I know you're ready. This is your moment, girl. Okay. Let these things shine.
So when we did Watch What Happens Live, this is the one you gave me. This is rare. You also gave me You Got This. So I wear those two. This is the one I wear every day. This is the one I put on like every other day.
That rare, man.
Yeah. And then my puppy Charles. I have one of his. Gosh. I have his name on a bracelet too. So I wear Charles, Rare, and You Got This.
I love that.
Daily reminders.
Daily reminders of the things you love and who you need to be and who you are. Yeah. Because you really are a rare one in this world, especially in the world of social media and reality TV. There are not many that I think I could sit down and have this kind of raw, open, real, honest conversation with. And I'm just so lucky that you chose to be a part of this with us. So that is it, y'all. That was an incredible episode. Thank you so much for your time today. Yeah. And we are so excited to be launching this Invincible bracelet. Stay tuned because it's a good one.
I hope you don't ask me to like make them all though, because we will be here for years. Yeah. I'm still trying to make my Grace bracelet.
We're still making Grace. But you know what? I'm going to give you some grace and I'm going to have patience.
Thank you.
While you get that done.
We love that.
I'm just going to be right over here in the corner.
I love.
Invincible.
Thank you.
Thank you.